Hey everybody, welcome back to Lost in Plots. It's me, Jordan, and I am joined this evening with Maggie, our
Hello.
head of curation. I think we say product development, something
Product
like that.
operations, but
Yes,
what's
you're
the
that.
title
And
really?
hello, more importantly, welcome to New York Times bestselling author Carissa Broadbent is in the house.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm like offended on Maggie's behalf though for by that more importantly. I don't think I'm more
No,
important.
no,
Oh no, I fully
Maggie,
back
no.
that statement.
You're also more important than I am.
Oh, well, that's
People,
just not
people are
true.
here for
I
you,
wouldn't be here
Carissa.
if you guys weren't here. So, there we go. But anyway, thank you
That's
so
a
much
funny
for having
story.
me.
Thank you for
Super
joining
excited
us.
to be here.
I am too. And it's okay. Maggie and I have actually known each other for 6 years at this
Yeah,
point.
it's
We are
long
unfortunate
friendship.
best friends. I know it seems like we're coworkers. We are too, but the
It's true.
friends part really does come first, as you can tell.
I can definitely tell by like the affectionate like meanness, which is like how I interact with my friends also. So so I can definitely feel the love. Definitely.
Hopefully, you'll feel more meanness too by the end of it. We'll have to ramp this up, Maggie.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh,
Gotta get
okay.
into
So
my
we've got like I got it. We have a lot of like layered complex emotions here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Now I'm like, are you a therapist? And the reason I asked, by the way, it's not a cheeky question, but like, you're so good at this.
At, oh, at what? At which part?
I feel like we're being mentored between Maggie and I and our complex emotions. We do actually need therapy. I'm just wondering whether you were in
If
addition to
I'm
a
taking
therapist.
clients in
Yeah.
between the books, yeah, sure. I can inflict pain with the books, and then I can kind of try to
Damn.
heal pain like in between.
Uh-huh.
So it
I
kind
feel
of
actually
balances out,
that could be an insanely good business model.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But also like a little predatory, you know, you kind of like inflict pain with the books, and
I
then you're
mean,
like, hey, for
incredibly
$100 an
unethical.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah,
very unethical. All
for
right,
sure.
Krista, now that you're used to us at this point and this know what you're going to get from this, it was really funny that you touched on it. Our journey, I think, to Serpent and the Wings of Night. Because it was a journey at OwlCrate.
It was.
Yes.
And it was a journey that started with me harassing every single member on curation for several months. When the book first, like, I first read it in November 2022. And in January, I started pushing and poking everybody at OwlCrate to do editions. And they're like, it's not even trad published. And I said, it's going to be. You don't understand. And I was just gunning for so long for the Vampire Daddies. So thank you. Thank you for writing
I
it.
Well, I only get to write it because you read it. And this was having OwlCrate do these editions of these books was like truly a career highlight for me. Like when I got that email, I was like, oh my gosh, definitely a dream. So on behalf of like me, and I guess I'll also like expand this to the wonderful Bramble team, but thank you so much for all of that harassment. And also, November was like still, I mean, that book took a few months to kind of, I think my first like really big month was like December of that year. So you were officially like really ahead of the wave with that one, even like the book talk wave. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I think I make it a habit sometimes to go on and just poke around on Kindle Unlimited. I think at this point people realize that there are so many books becoming traditionally published out of self-publishing, and I do make it a really big habit to go in and at least poke at covers that I find interesting, because the same thing happened with When the Moon Hatched.
Yes.
And when you compare the original Serpent cover to the When the Moon Hatched, that's what drew me in. I'm on If I'm being honest with you, I was like, I think I'm gonna get like a similar vibe, and I did, but infinitely longer book, and I learned a whole bunch of new words. So yours was just a little bit easier to keep up with, and I know that Sarah will forgive me for saying that, but this was special.
It is.
Oh,
It is
I
special.
am honored. Thank you. Thank you.
And it is one of those perfect kind of like romantasy stories where you have like the sort of badass female character growing up around vampires, kind of forced to be a badass. Like, I don't know how you would grow up in that kind of environment, having your entire family ripped away from you, forced to grow up with these vampires. but there's still like a lot of humanity within that,
Yeah, that's
and
what
it's interesting that like Araya comes back to her humanity in this book in like kind of the most brutal way.
yeah, that was my whenever I'm writing a book, the first thing I kind of come up with, other than like the really, really like broad strokes, high fantasy vampires, but is the theme. And with this one, I really wanted to write about like the interplay between strength and power and like humanity and like what it means to have humanity in like a literal sense and also like a figurative, like emotional sense. So everything about Araya's character originally kind of came out of that, like how I wanted to have that explore that interplay like between those two concepts, and that's how I ended up with a human who wanted to shed her humanity and a vampire who really desperately wants to like reclaim his humanity. Because for me, it's like in romances, I feel like there's nothing more romantic than somebody seeing beauty in the things that we hate most about ourselves. So almost all of the couples I write have like kind of some aspect of that deal going on.
And then there was a further exploration within that, I think, with having Vincent as a father.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there sure is.
It's like you wrote this book and you were like, okay, this is for all the ladies and dadies with daddy issues, but it's for all the ladies and dadies with daddy issues. Like,
Yeah, right. What an excellent way of putting it. I I always feel like I need to say on the record, my dad is a lovely man. Like he's a
That is
wonderful
probably a
person.
good thing to say.
we were all very curious. Just
You are not the first person to like try to low key politely ask me that question. Like, so how's your relationship with your father? Wonderful, actually. He's great. He has never once made me kill anybody.
oh my goodness. I
What
have
a
never
bar.
once like looked at an author and said, I hope you do not receive a film adaptation of your work. But like for your father's sake, I hope you do not receive a film. Chris is like,
I
oh
know.
no.
I know. It's funny because he's so like, my dad is also like the most, like, he's such a nice guy. And he's so like, he'll like, I don't go on Goodreads at all. But like, I don't think he does it anymore because it's like gotten crazy. But he would like go answer, when people ask questions about like, well, when is the next book coming out? So he would be like, I hear that book 3 in the series, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, is coming on November 19th. Like he'll be the one like answering those questions and stuff. Like he's like he's a very sweet, supportive, very delightful man. So I don't know where the daddy issues came from. I guess I don't know. I guess I can
Okay,
just really
well,
invent the trauma.
further question to reverse the tables on you. How was your relationship with your mother, Carissa?
She's also lovely. I have a great family. I have a
Also,
lovely family.
I'm trying to peel back the layers. It must be. Did you start reading when you were very young at
Oh
an
yes.
inappropriate level?
Oh,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. See,
Yeah,
that's where
probably.
that came from. It came from Outlander. Yeah.
Mm.
From
I've
the
never
first
read
one.
Outlander. I watched all of the show, but I
Hmm.
haven't read the book yet. But yeah, that very well totally could be the case. Like,
Same.
definitely read like a lot of like kind of dark, epic fantasy
Mhm.
at,
Oh, so like the
at a
parents
young
were mostly
age.
dead, or yeah.
The parents are
Yeah.
always dead. Yeah, parents are always
Hey, in
dead.
this case, the parents undead ish, kind of.
Mm. So I'm just kind of putting twists on it. I'm
Mhm.
just building upon what I know.
Is there anybody in your life that you feel like you would actually have a Vincent type of relationship with? Because the thing is, I do think Araya and Vincent have like this incredible relationship across the entire book, and that's reflective of your dad. You don't understand. Vincent is my favorite character that you have ever written.
I appreciate that. I love Vincent. I love him because like I really love writing morally gray characters, and not just like, I feel like the term morally gray in like book talk world has been used to describe like hot man who will kill somebody for you, you
Mhm.
know, which we all love that. That's great. But like, I mean like actual morally gray, not like, oh, he's so in love with you that he will like kill a guy who's mean to you, but like actually like you have really complicated feelings about this person who is like deeply morally and emotionally conflicted. Like, I have this whole genre of man that I like to write. They're usually not love interests, but who are like men who have been completely destroyed by toxic masculinity.
They should all be the love interests.
I, I mean, maybe one day. Oh, we might have one coming up. We might have one coming up. But yeah, I find them very interesting. I like to write like really like characters that make you kind of go like, no one can really see the facial expressions I'm making, but like you guys get me, right?
Oh, we're on video.
Mhm.
Oh, are we?
Wi-
I didn't know. I don't know. I thought this was a podcast.
It's a
Hi.
it's a video. Hey, everybody. Don't
Oh,
worry.
hi.
Your face has been completely normal this whole time.
Oh, well, that's great. I have my office. This is supposed to be my office. It's like the room that my child loves to play in, like the most. So there's like, I don't know if you can see like the big foam blocks behind me or, okay, great. I like this like close crop situation, so we're good.
I just see the fantastic color that your wall is, and there was a room in my childhood house that had almost that exact same wall color, and it's such like a happy nostalgic feeling because it was our dining room, and so we always had like great big meals in there. So anyway, it just makes me
That's
happy
wonderful.
looking at it.
Oh, that makes me happy too. I love purple's my favorite color, and I wanted to go like kind of vampire den, except it's not a vampire den clearly. It's like a vampire kind of corner desk and then a toddler's toys everywhere else.
That is like a vampire den.
Have you seen
Yeah.
Gothic Baby on TikTok? Because
No.
that's like a toddler vampire den if I've ever seen one.
Okay, I
You
have to
probably
look
really
that up.
like it.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a
I'm sure
vibe.
I would.
It's pretty interesting. Anyways, back to books.
Did you have another question, Maggie?
Oh, I just one thing that's on my mind that I do need to make sure is mentioned at some point is that Teresa, who is the curator on Team OwlCrate, who has been leading our direction for all of the editions of our books,
Yes.
So
she
good.
surprise, surprise, everyone, we're doing an OwlCrate edition of The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. And
Yay!
Teresa is still very frustrated by the ending.
Ooh,
And
yes.
is just she asks me like, do we have the next one yet? Do we have the next one yet? And I'm like, no, we don't have the manuscript yet. And she's like, okay, well, I need it. And I'm like, I understand. I will give it to you when I have it. But she's like, no, you don't understand, Maggie. That ending was so mean. And I have not read Songbird yet, so I don't know what she's talking about. But she's pretty adamant it was a rough ending.
It's a little mean. Sorry.
Nice.
Sorry in advance to the world at large. Yeah, it's I like to elicit strong reactions in readers.
Uh-huh.
And strong positive reactions, tears, you know,
Death
the whole
threats.
spectrum.
Yeah. No, you certainly got all of them with Teresa, because if she didn't enjoy it, if it wasn't good, she wouldn't be hounding me for the sequel. She would be like, "That's okay," but instead, she's like, "Hey, Maggie, any word yet?" Not yet.
Oh, well, that is an honor, so thank you. I was very the whole so Songbird is the first book. I was going to say the first Nyaxia book, but my first book ever that has been completely published, you know, with my partnership with my trad publisher.
Sure.
So it's been a very different experience and a very nerve-wracking experience just because, so with my indie books, when you're indie, you finish a book, you know, I'm working with editors and proofreaders and all that stuff still, but still I am ultimately project managing the book. And when the book is done, I hit a button and it is available everywhere in 24 to 36 hours. You know, it's near instantaneous. So almost all of those books, I am like crunching, like living them, breathing them, working, and then I release them, you know? So it's like you go kind of straight from like, oh, this book is consuming my life to like everybody is reading this book. And that in some ways is super nerve-wracking because you're very in your emotions the whole time. But it's also like you go straight from like the high of finishing it and working on it and living in it to it being out in the world. This has been totally different because, as you guys know, this book has been done, like done for, you know, months.
Mm-hmm.
And it still is like months to go until it's out in the world. So it feels very like, like surreal for it to like finally be in people's hands, or even when it went out for arcs, like when I started to get tagged and people having, you know, e-arcs and stuff, I wasn't the one who sent them out. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's arcs out there. Like it wasn't me, the person who was pressing the button to like personally send them to all these people. It's like a very different experience and like kind of in slow motion. So it's been like, I don't know, different. I feel like I had a point that I was going for and I just ended up like rambling. But anyway, it's encouraging. I'm glad that she's eager for the next one.
Oh, yes. No, and I think people will really like that insight into the difference between indie publishing and trad publishing and what the experience is like for authors, because we have so many subscribers, community members, etc., that are aspiring authors, and a lot of them ask, you know, what is the difference between going the trad pub route versus indie? Which one is better? What are the pros and cons of each? They really like getting insight, so they will be thrilled for your thoughts on it.
Oh, I'm always happy to talk about that topic. I'm very passionate about that topic and indie publishing in general. And like, I could always, I feel like I've established a bit of a reputation for someone who can talk about that topic a lot because I am now asked about it a lot, which is great
Mhm.
because I love to talk about it.
For me, I'm actually wondering, what are some of your favorite things about trad publishing that you don't get to experience in indie publishing? Not indie, but self-publishing, and vice versa. I'm sure that there's pros and cons and positives and negatives to each of them, but I'm sure that there's more enjoyment out of both, and I'd be interested to see what you enjoy from each of them.
I love that question and how that's framed because I feel one of my pet peeves about how sometimes conversation online about this topic can go is it can very quickly go down two routes where you're either kind of like team indie or team trad and everybody is kind of talking about why their thing is better than the other thing. There are lots of things to love about each route. So one thing that there are so many things that I love about working with the Bramble team. Um, I mean, just the fact that it is like a team, like it's a team of like so many like wonderful, talented, incredibly smart people who are like standing behind my books, which is incredible, like truly a dream come true to have that happen. It also just increases accessibility for the book. Like there's a whole infrastructure. Again, I know with you guys, I'm preaching to the choir here, but like a whole infrastructure that indie authors really just literally cannot access in terms of distributing books. Print distribution can really be very challenging, especially if you're an indie author where there's a significant demand behind your books. The infrastructure just really struggles to meet that, and then it makes it very difficult for like independent bookstores in particular to like stock your books because they can't deal with the margins issues that are created by that print on demand system. So that's all wonderful. Like the team aspect of it, the distribution and having all that visibility is like really amazing. On the flip side, on the indie side, I think there are lots of things that people often talk about here with like, you know, money, I'll be honest, like the money aspect of, you know, you are sharing the profits of the book with a lot fewer people, right? So when you're kind of mid-list, it can feel a lot more attainable, you know, to make a living selling fewer books, essentially, you know, kind of a solid mid-list sell, sales numbers, you know. But to kind of take a step back, the thing that I love most about the indie route, and the thing I'm grateful for having come up in that route is like you kind of have more of an opportunity to build a career slowly. Um, Meaning that it's not like you kind of have all of these other people who, by necessity of their job, need to kind of gauge how successful the book is going to be based on your previous books. You are the only person who is investing in your own books. So you can decide to do or invest however you want. So, like Daughter of Nowhere Else, which is a book that now, makes a lot of money. Um, the first year that it was out made like, I don't know, maybe a couple of $1,000s, like for the year. Like the first month it was out, I made like $100, and I was like, "Yay, my internet bill!" Like it was. So you have an opportunity to kind of like books have kind of more time, to build an audience slowly because you are the only one investing in that. Um, so yeah, but lots of good things about both of them.
And I have to ask, because obviously you were extremely successful as an indie self-published author through online like retailers like Amazon. What has been the biggest transition then going from that world to trad publishing? Because I'm assuming that it was probably a very big transition for you. And especially with Serpent, which was a huge overnight success. And I don't think that you were expecting it to be. And I know that it took a few months for it to gain traction, but still in terms of trad publishing, it was an overnight success for you with that series. Um, are you still transitioning through it? Is it like a pinch me moment, or how are you doing over there?
It definitely is. It's definitely surreal. And I kind of link that less. I mean, working with my publisher is kind of part of that, but I don't attribute it to that transition alone. It's kind of like just generally the whole just the fact that like anybody knows who I am is like wild to me. Like kind of to go back to our earlier topic, I always like to. So before I was a full-time author before Serpent came out at
Yeah.
all, and I was like perfectly comfortable with my level of success. I was putting food on the table, I was doing what I loved. It was it was good. I never would have expected or anticipated to have this degree of success, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And it was extra surreal because like I had a baby around that time also, so it was like it was like this water slide of like life changes, and it was like kind of all happening like on the internet. And then the first time I had an in-person event like ever, it was my first in-person event ever, and it was a sold out event at the Ripped Bodice in New York City, and they are lovely there. And it was like for the first time I like saw it in person, and I was like, oh my god, holy shit, this is real. Like it's insane and it's surreal, and I still feel that way.
Do you think anything could have prepared you for it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's it's very positive overall. There are stressful parts. It's difficult to feel very like seen. Like I've had to definitely change my relationship to social media. I'm not really scrolling anymore just because it's very easy to accidentally stumble across people talking about you, which is weird. Let's not do that. But uh yeah, it's overall very positive and really wonderful, and I feel really lucky. And I don't think anything could have prepared me for it because I think it hasn't really sunk in still. There's still going to be some crazy stuff that happens, and it's going to make me go, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life. Probably in November, I'll be doing that all over again when Songbird comes out.
I'm sure that there's a number of things that are probably in the works that you can't even talk about. And I imagine it's just like a snowball effect of success, which can be wonderful. And yet I know personally terrifying at the same time.
But so many wonderful things are, like everything
Yeah.
that's like worth having is also stressful in some way. And I'd rather be like stressed out because all of my dreams are coming true than stressed out because like everything is going badly. So like, you just have to kind of take the bad with the good, really. But yeah, it's amazing. I'm very, very grateful. And especially because it was so organic, like I
Mhm.
didn't pay for I mean, of course I market my books. I worked in marketing before I did this. Um, but yeah, it was like, it just happened. It's incredible.
And what was the feeling when you first saw like the OwlCrate box on your doorstep, but it happened to be your book?
I I think I texted my agent a picture of it and I said, "Did you get this today too? Because this is gorgeous." And I like went through all of the artwork in it. It was pretty amazing. It's pretty incredible.
Well, good, because you have more boxes coming in the next few months. Like
Right.
Yeah.
possibly a lot more boxes coming.
Right.
I'm sorry I keep writing books.
It's
We're
fun
not
for us
sorry that we
though.
keep doing your special editions.
Yeah.
We're
I am very grateful that you still do because sometimes I get like when I get my little like Basecamp notifications from Teresa, I'm always like, oh my God, they must be so sick of me by now.
Oh
no.
no. Quite the
No one
opposite.
thinks that. We love you to pieces, and I know that Teresa is going to be super, super stoked to have you back and talk to you herself for the release of other books. And yeah, thank you for writing Vampire Daddies. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Hmm.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Someone has to write about Vampire Daddies. Krista, did you have fun with us for this podcast? Would you come
I
back and hang out
did.
with us again?
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Okay, even though you found out that we are very strange individuals by the end of our
Oh,
26-minute conversation.
yeah. And also I feel like I've spent the entire 26 minutes like rambling about whatever. So yeah, if
That
you'll have
is
me,
Yeah,
sure.
no, we will, but isn't that a podcast? That's what a podcast is, right? Maggie?
That is what a podcast is. I suppose so. But I feel like some people are better at being interesting than I am.
oh no.
Like,
These are the
No.
types of conversations that our members and viewers like consistently tell us is what they like the best. Is just, they don't like scripted and like question, answer. It gets, you can get that so many places. They like these, going off on wild tangents, talking about whatever you feel like because they feel like they get to know the person behind the author more, which we're all about like humanizing the people behind the books we love because like you're a human putting these out. It takes a lot of work and we appreciate you.
well, I mean, I appreciate you and I appreciate readers for like actually reading the books that I put out there.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like I'm benefiting more from like this end of the deal. Like, I get to just tell stories about vampires kissing and people read them and that's my job. And then I get to go home at the end of the night and be like, oh, I'm so stressed out. Oh, I have so much work to do. And then my husband is like, okay, fine. like,
Wow.
I can't, my life is so great.
No, we
Ooh,
like to play it off too. Getting to work in the book industry is everyone's greatest dream as a reader, and
This is our job right here. Like,
I
you
know.
know,
And you're so good at it.
can you believe our job is to
Teresa.
make pretty books?
Teresa is so good at it.
She's
She is
yes.
she is so loved. Can you please tell well,
Yes.
presumably
Well, let's
maybe
do
she'll
this.
listen
Yeah,
to
yeah,
this,
yeah.
but tell her
Oh,
that
yeah.
she's so wonderful.
Oh yes.
And
I'll
I
make
every
sure.
time I get a message from her, I'm like, she's so wonderful. That's you're all very, very good at your jobs. These are really gorgeous.
Thank you.
And our, listeners, viewers, subscribers will be very happy to know that not only is our edition of Songbird going to be, on that same design as these two books in the same world, the same series, we are also doing an edition of Six Scorched Roses, which will again be matching so that all of the books are just going to look so gorgeous next to each other on the shelf.
They
Oh
will.
no,
I
more
can't wait.
books
Yeah.
for
Oh
us.
no. I know. It's such a tragedy. Our lives are so hard.
Right.
They're so hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I do have to do that like exit thing that I say, Maggie.
Yep. Yep.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Carissa, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Maggie, for co-hosting. We've had a blast talking about Vampire Daddies. Kindly remember to rate and review this podcast, Lost in Plots, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and join us next time where Corey and Amber are going to sit down and talk all about a book that they're reading. Or no, that's Corey and you, Maggie. What are you reading?
It's a novella called Cold, a horror novella set in Canada.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Oh, a lot of horror stuff is set in Canada. It's real like cold.
It's terrifying here, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for it.
We hope that everybody has a happy week. Thank you for listening, and see you next time on Lost in Plots. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.